Can you say some word to your personal background?
Yeah, hi. I'm from New York City. That's where I grew up and lived most of my life. My family is Orthodox Jewish, and so that means they're very religious, and I had a very religious upbringing and went to Jewish private schools all my life, and all my friends from before college were Jewish.
hmm hmm When did you start to question forced infant circumcision?
Um, well, it's hard to say when exactly, but I've been to many bris practices. It's the word for circumcision, bris. Um, and it was always uncomfortable to be there and watch.
hmm
And some of my uncles were also very uncomfortable, and they would leave the room when the circumcision was happening. But I think it wasn't until I got to college where I just heard about some product called Senslip, where you just wear, and it was kind of like a condom,
hmm
but you just wear it so that you can um, make it more sensitive and cover the head of the penis. And so I think that's when I fully started researching circumcision.
hmm In the German discussion on the circumcision law, there was sometimes the meaning that this discussion is only in Germany. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean we have.
Or is it in other parts of the world, as you know, also in the States or in other European states?
Well, I mean we also had an effort to ban circumcision in San Francisco, and people said the same thing, only in San Francisco, you know.
hmm
So I think it's not true. It's not just Germany and San Francisco that has tried to ban circumcision. I think there are many countries, many doctors' organizations, including most recently the Royal Dutch Medical Association. They're trying to educate people to stop circumcision.
In the Netherlands, you know?
Yeah, in the Netherlands. There are some political parties I know in Finland and elsewhere that have talked about a circumcision ban, and I know in Australia circumcision is banned in public hospitals.
hmm
So I think it's pretty recognized amongst industrialized nations that circumcision is harmful and it should be stopped.
Are there complications depending on circumcision?
Yes, the immediate effects of circumcision is severe trauma to children and babies, and the long-term effects are sexual impairment. And we know that the foreskin is the most sensitive parts of the penis, and so by removing this, you are irreversibly taking away part of someone's sexuality. They can never experience a full orgasm the way their bodies were made to be. And some of the so-called complications that the medical doctors in the United States recognize are infection or bleeding, but also there are some babies who die every year in the United States. Over 100 babies die every year, it's estimated, although it's not sure because on the death certificates sometimes they just put death due to hemorrhage or other things, so it's hard to track these things. But the ones who do grow up to become adults, complications could be painful erections or things like this.
hmm
Or,
What about the opposition to circumcision in the States? How many groups are there? How important are they?
yeah, there's many organizations in the United States that are against circumcision. We use the word Intactivist to describe activists who are against circumcision because the word intact is better than using uncircumcised
hmm
to describe a male who has a foreskin. The first organization that I know of started in the 80s. It's called NOCIRC, National Organization for Circumcision Information Resource Centers, and they have chapters all over the states and even some chapters around the world. There's more organizations recently started up called Intact America, and also Attorneys for the Rights of the Child. That's the organization that I work with. And there's lots of local activist groups, like for instance I'm part of New York City Intactivists. and there's also Bay Area Intactivists in San Francisco, and so it's pretty much in every state and every major city there's a group of Intactivists.
Okay. Is it important and has some effects if people speak in the public about the problems of their own circumcision?
Yes, I think it's very important. Most people think that if a circumcision goes right, according to the doctors, then you shouldn't have any problems and you shouldn't complain. But there are many men whose circumcisions have supposedly gone right, but they still suffer from it, and a lot of people would change their opinion about circumcision if they knew that they could one day harm their child.
Mm-hmm. What are the effects of circumcision on individuals and societies?
Well, I think individuals who were circumcised, many of them feel that they were betrayed by their parents or by their doctors, and so there's a lot of alienation and mistrust and a lot of depression resulting from that. And for society at large, a society that circumcises its children or tolerates it or passes a law to supposedly protect the right to circumcision, that means that it's a society that doesn't care about genital autonomy, that doesn't care about individual rights.
What could we do to encourage people to respect the genital autonomy of children?
I think our job is to educate people on the harms of circumcision and also other surgeries on children, like female and intersex surgeries like circumcision and forced sex reassignment. I think there's a lot of information that's missing from the public about the harms of circumcision and other surgeries, and it's an important gap that we have to fill.
Okay, let's do it. Thank you, Jonathan Friedman.